After a whole offseason of doubt, one great game has landed Cade Klubnik into a top 10 quarterback of the college football nation ranking, and we're stoked about it.
You are Locked On Clemson, your daily podcast on the Clemson Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? Hope you are doing well on this September 11th. Before we dive into the show, we do want to say thank you so much to all of the firemen, to all of our first responders, police officers, EMS, all our first responders. It is days like today that we truly remember the amazing heroes in our communities that put their lives on the line every single day for their jobs. So thank you so much for everything you do. We are continually praying, and our hearts go out to all those who tragically lost loved ones or people they knew in that terrible events of 9/11 so many years ago. But we're appreciative to all of our first responders, and we thank you every single day. But with that being said, we do want to welcome you to the Locked On Clemson podcast. I'm your host, John Bivens. You can follow us over on Twitter at I am John Bivens. We are grateful to all of you who make Locked On Clemson your first listen every day. We love our everydayers. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast at and over on YouTube. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Here on Locked On Clemson, where you're all sports, all passion, all of the time, bringing you everything you need to know regarding Clemson sports. Today is 9/11. We got a great episode for you talking about the top 10 quarterback rankings, talking about the injury report for the Tigers right now, and we're going to introduce a new game in the third segment called Hot Take Speed Round, where we're going to dive into some hot takes, quickly adjusting them and talking about them. So it's going to be a great episode. It is brought to you by Ultimate GM. Ultimate College Football Head Coach is a brand new mobile game that is completely free, has no ads, and is 100% playable offline. Bring your coaching legacy today. We got a lot to talk about. Before we dive into the episode, we also want to say this. We have been hosting this show since about April, right after March Madness ended. We took this over, and we've seen it grow. We've seen this community grow. I think overall we've increased our subscribers on YouTube by 500. We've grown our audience listeners by hundreds every single day. And that's not possible without each and every one of you. We are so grateful to the everydayers, to the people that share this podcast. This wouldn't be possible without all of you. So we're grateful for you. We are always looking for opportunities just to engage with you a little bit more. So if you ever have anything you want to talk to us about, hit us up, have a conversation with us. We would love that. But we also have a goal. In the past month, we have hit our 1,000 subscriber mark, our 1,100 subscriber mark, and our 1,200 subscriber mark. We're going to challenge you all. Let's hit 1,500 before the end of October. We are so close to that. We are less than 300 away. So share this podcast. If you're already subscribing, share it with another fan of Clemson. Let's grow this community, keep growing this family here of Locked On Clemson. But we appreciate every single one of you that listen every day. And even those that just randomly listen, we appreciate you. But let's dive into the show. After a whole offseason of doubt, one good game has landed Cade Klubnik into the nation's top 10 quarterback ranking this week, which is wild. And that is amazing. We celebrate that. All last year and all offseason, all we've heard is Cade Klubnik's not it. Even Clemson fans are, Cade Klubnik's not it. I've had doubts myself. He had a terrible game against Georgia. Let's just call it what it is, right? Let's be honest. He didn't play well. And then App State came out and broke records, had this amazing game, threw for over 300 yards, 5 touchdowns, 2 rushing touchdowns, all in one half. That game alone has now put him in CBS's top 10 quarterback of the nation. Before we dive into all about Cade, let's just go through the other quarterbacks on that list. So they have number 10, sitting at the 10 spot is Ethan Hampton, who's the quarterback for Northern Illinois. They just had an upset game, beat Notre Dame. Crazy good game. They beat them in Indiana, in South Bend. He had a great game. He only went 10 for 19, but on those 10 completions, he averaged 10.4 yards per attempt, 19.8 yards per completion. So he had a great game. He's in the top 10 quarterbacks now. Number 9 is Cade Klubnik, who we'll come back and talk about. Number 8, Miller Ross, quarterback for USC Trojans, the real USC. Number 7 is another ACC quarterback with Kyle McCord, Syracuse quarterback. Number 6 is Jackson Dart, the old quarterback for Ole Miss. Number 5, Nico Imaliva. I like saying Nico Imaliva. There's probably 14 million ways to say his name, but Nico over there, he came out and played extremely well against NC State, also against Chattanooga, but played well. Number 4 is Jalen Milroe from Alabama. Number 3 is the highest ranking white quarterback from the ACC with Cam Ward from Miami. Number 2 is Carson Beck from Georgia. And number 1, no surprise, is Quinn Ewers from Texas. The crazy part about him being number 1 is I think they also have a top 10 quarterback in the nation as their backup with Arch Manning. He's crazy. So there's your top 10s. Let's dive into Cade. This list is obviously one that is very much a recency bias list. Again, where it was CBS Sports, you can look at it. The fact that Northern Illinois quarterback made the top 10 shows that, all right, this is a recency bias list. And this list isn't one that is this isn't a list of the top 10 performances from the week before. If it was, Cade would be number 1. This is the CBS Sports College Football Power Rankings. So Quinn Ewers took over the 1 spot. Nico moved up some spots, and then there was a couple people jumped in this list that weren't ranked last week, which was Cade Klubnik, Ethan Hampton, and Kyle McCord. None of them were ranked last week. Jalen Milroe fell back a little bit. Cam Ward fell back 1. Carson Beck dropped back 1. Quinn Ewers went from 5 to 1. But overall, they went through, and here's what the comments they had to say on Cade. This is what it says. It says, I've never been shy about sharing my opinion of Klubnik. In short, I'm not particularly high on him. Still, even if he was shellacked by Georgia and played poorly, I won't ignore the bounce-back performance. Klubnik picked himself up, dusted him off, and dusted App State for 383 yards and 7 touchdowns. I'm not buying in until he does it again against the best competition, but I'm also not a monster. He deserves on this list. Man, I mean, he says he's not a believer, but he puts him in number 9 of his top quarterbacks in the nation right now. Look, that's a big step. This is huge because I think it truly is putting me on the map. I think this game has truly took it from, all right, this is a quarterback that doesn't know how to play, to maybe Clemson's got something special going on with this junior. He's a sophomore on the field. He's a junior, but he didn't play his freshman year except for 2 games, started 1. He's a good quarterback. He's got a lot of stuff. So I think it's put him on the map. Even a lot of Clemson fans right now, we put out a poll on our YouTube community. If you're not a part of that, hey, check that out. We put out 2 polls every single day, Monday through Friday, talking about what's going on with Clemson, getting some fan engagement. And we put out, do you believe in Cade, pretty much? And a lot of people were saying that they didn't, they need to see more before they really mark it up. That was more about the offense as a whole. Now, after this episode, make sure you check out the community. We've got a new post all about Cade Klubnik over there. We'd love to hear your thoughts about what you believe on him is. But yes, check those out. I think it comes down to this. Cade Klubnik is got to go. He's a good quarterback. And I'm sticking with what I said. I think the difference in Cade from week 1 to week 2, and honestly from last year to week 2 this year, the difference is how they're coaching him. You had that interview that we've talked about a couple of times of coaching to be a game manager. And I think that's the performance we saw last year and this year. We saw him trying to just maintain the level of the game, not be the hero, not make the plays, allow others to make the plays for him. That's why he was throwing a lot of checkdowns. That's why he was making a lot of reads to the safe reads, right? This year, this past game, we saw him looking to make the big plays, looking for the explosive plays. I think it's because they're changing the coaching from game manager to truly taking over the team. And if that keeps happening, Cade's going to do nothing but rise on this list. He has the potential to be one of the best quarterbacks in the nation. He has a potential to be an early draft pick next year. He has to be coached like a leader. So I'm big on Cade. I'm big on Cade when he's coached right. I think if he comes, I'm not saying he's perfect. He's going to make mistakes. Last year he had a bunch of turnovers. This year, luckily, knock on wood, there hasn't been any turnovers yet, so hopefully that continues after the bye week and the next week in Cincy State. I'm big on Cade. I think he's going to be good. I think he's going to have success as long as he keeps being coached well. But as of right now, he's a number 9 quarterback in the nation, according to CBS Sports. Another platform has him at 11. So he's getting national recognition. He's on the map. Hopefully he can continue making this run and continue pushing forward. So it's exciting to see that. While that is great news for Clemson football, there is some not so great news and some all right news when it comes to the injury report and our current players that are having some injuries. Hey, Locked On Clemson fans, I want to take a moment to give you a heads up on a brand new mobile game that I think you're going to love as much as I do, Ultimate College Football HC. In this amazing game and simulation, you get to step into the shoes of a head coach and lead your college football program to glory. Can you imagine actually being the head coach of Clemson? Can you imagine recruiting players, hiring coaching staff to oversee training camps, handling school scholarships? You get to control every aspect of the program. It's all in your hands. The question is, you're going to be able to handle the pressure. Here's what I love about the game, too. You get to decide your level of control on the game. Do you want to be only over the off-field moves, or do you want to be the offensive coordinator and call all the plays? You get to choose and decide what your level of involvement wants to be, and your strategy not only going to determine success, but it'll shape the future and legacy of the program. This game is completely free, has no ads, and is 100% playable offline. And, of course, we have a special offer for you. Use code LOCKEDONCFB, all caps, to receive a free boost to your program. Make sure you take advantage of that soon. Download it now by going to ultimate-cfb.com or search on the App Store, Ultimate College Football HC. Begin your coaching legacy today. If you haven't been to a Clemson football game yet, you need to get out there. And the best place to go to get all of your tickets is Gametime. Gametime is the best place to get tickets for any sporting event. They even have a new feature that I love called Gametime Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. Gametime Picks filters out the fluff to show you the incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching it. I love going there. When I go to baseball games and go see the Padres, I'm going to go to the Eagles game later on, hopefully going up to Baltimore watching that game. I'm going to go there. When I go to Clemson games, if I'm not working media, I use Gametime. They are the best place to go at all levels. There's super deals that let you get great deals on it. There's you can curate deals to make it easier to find the best price. There's seat views before you buy and a panoramic view. They've got all the great stuff. All in pricing. You can toggle that on and see all the fees beforehand, so you don't have to worry about hidden fees later on. It is a great time. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app now, create an account, use code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, use code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Gametime Town today. What time is it? It's game time. Clemson, unfortunately, got some negative news when it comes to the injury report. So far this season, we have seen 4 players get injured. 2 we have some good news on. 2 we have some not so good news on. The 2 that we have good news on is Peter Woods and Tyler Brown. Peter Woods got hurt early in the season. Tyler Brown got hurt against App State this past week. So those were worrisome. Those were ones that they got hurt and it was like, oh, what's going to happen? Do we need to be worried about this? Those are 2 big players. I would say Tyler Brown's our wide receiver 2 or 3. Peter Woods is by far one of the staples of our defense, especially on the defensive line, creating pressure, clogging up the run holes. He's talented. Dabo Swinney came out and gave us an injury report on those 2. And honestly, they weren't bad reports. Both of them are listed as day-to-day, which means we have until next Saturday, not this week. We have a bye week this week. We play NC State next week. So they have plenty of time to get over this injury, to kind of rehab it a little bit. So that's good news. That's exciting to see. Would love to be able to see them continue getting healthy. They should be on the field next week next week against NC State. Love to see that. But there were some injuries that are not so great. One of the injuries that got hurt during that second quarter was Kobe McLeod. Kobe McLeod, he got injured in the first half, and that is not a great look for us. Kobe is on our defense, and honestly, he's a pretty strong spot on our defense. He doesn't start, but he is a second string wide receiver or linebacker that gets a lot of playing time. Our linebackers are obviously Barrett Carter, Wade Woodaz. Those are 2 strong starting ones. They get a lot of playing time there, but they kind of rotate in some other ones, and Kobe McLeod was one that they rotated in quite often. He unfortunately is going to have surgery on his injury, which is very unfortunate. But with that surgery, he's going to miss a lot of time. He is undergoing knee surgery, and he will be out for the entire season. That is a big injury. That's huge. Clemson, one of the things that Clemson has got shade for all offseason is the transfer portal. Dabo didn't bring anybody in. The only FBS school that isn't a military academy that did not bring in one transfer. With that, our depth is questionable. Our depth, our starters, you know, our starters are great. There's no question there if they start the right guys. Wide receiver, we won't talk about right now. That's not what we're talking about. But when we start the right guys, our starting lineup is really good. And we have some good ones on the secondary, our second string. Once you get past that second string, it really starts getting slim pickings. And so Kobe McLeod, who is he's a redshirt sophomore, him being out is a really big deal. I think that's going to hurt us. I think that's going to down the field, especially if God forbid, Barrett Carter or one of our other linebackers get hurt. It's really going to show a weak spot there. I think we're still set. Sammy Brown is a true freshman who got to see some playing time against App State. He made some freshman mistakes. He made some moves or some mistakes that definitely shouldn't have made. Missed some open tackles, made the wrong read. There was for sure some little freshman hiccups there. I think he can jump in and fill that backup spot for Kobe. I think he can glide into that role. But missing Kobe is going to be a big deal. That's going to be one that hurts us. That we're going to feel that hurt for the next couple of weeks, especially if we miss anybody else on the defense. So he's out for the season. That's going to hurt. And we also got news on a second defensive player that is also out for the season. Caleb Nix is out. Caleb is a reserve defensive back. If you look at our depth chart, he's not listed on the depth chart for safety, but he does start on both special teams. He starts on kickoff and kick returns. You hate it for him. Really going to miss him. I hate that he's missing the date, but he is out for the season as well with an injury. That's not going to impact us as much on the defensive side. On special teams, it could. He was a starter, and on a team that rotates a lot of players, if he's consistently getting those starts, that's going to hurt us. That's going to affect. So we're going to miss those two players. I think missing them both is a big thing. It's something that is really it's pretty impactful with missing Kobe and Caleb Nix. So prayers for them. Hopefully they can recover. Can't wait to see Kobe McLeod back on the field next year. So hopefully maybe he'll use a second red shirt. I should have looked this up and I apologize I didn't. I think he redshirted last year, not out of injury. So he should still have that injury red shirt left. But either way, hopefully they can make a full recovery and be back better than ever. So that's our injury report. Next, we're going to kick off a new segment, a new game. We haven't played any games yet. So we're going to play a game called Speed Round Hot Take. What it is, we're going to go through some hot takes and set a timer, not spend too much time, but just address some of the most popular hot takes that are going on about Clemson football right now.
Jarvis Davis here for FanDuel. You heard us talk a lot about FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So guess what? I'm about to tell you a little bit more. We got a little something just for you. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. It doesn't matter if you're a fan of the Atlanta Falcons, the Carolina Panthers, the Los Angeles Chargers, the Las Vegas Raiders. It doesn't matter because guess what? With a YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. Yes, every regular season out-of-market game. That is so dope. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel anytime. So just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. And make sure you download America's #1 sportsbook.
Hot Take Speed Round, a new game we're going to kick off. Here's how this is going to work. We've got 4 hot takes that are pretty bold takes that people are talking about a lot, especially regarding Clemson and the ACC and people around the nation talking about. We're going to go through and we're going to dive into all 4 of these. We're not going to spend too much time on them. So we have a 90-second timer that we have set. If we talk for less than 90 seconds, we'll talk for less than 90 seconds. That's fine. But once the timer goes off, we're done. We'll move on. We might touch on these next time we play this, but we're going to go through. I'll read the hot takes, then I'll set the timer and talk about them. So let's get started. Number 1, the first hot take, Clemson is a huge reason why the ACC is down. Started the timer. So here's what has happened. I've seen a lot of people talk about how when it comes to the ACC being down this year, they haven't had the performance they're used to, haven't lived up to the expectations. I think a lot of people expected ACC to be the 3rd best conference in the nation behind SEC and Big Ten. It's looking like as a whole, Big 12 might be passing them on that level, them becoming the last Power 4 conference. A lot of people are blaming Clemson. I've heard a lot of people ask, well, the ACC's down. What's happening to Florida State and NC State? And everybody's saying, oh, well, Clemson's down, so it affects everything. That's a bad take. Honestly, I don't think that's a bad take. Let me use this illustration. All right. Let's say you go to the store, grocery store. One around me is at Ingles. I go to Ingles. I buy 12 pack of eggs, right? I buy just 12 eggs. I open up the pack and I see 10 eggs cracked. They're just cracked. The yolk is leaking everywhere, but there's 2 good eggs. Do I take those 2 good eggs and do I say, why did you make the other eggs crack? Or do I just throw those eggs away too because everything else is cracked? No. I say, hey, I throw the other 10 away and I use those 2 and go buy another 12, right? Clemson right now, we've looked bad against the number 1 team in the nation and then really good against a team that we should have beat. And we beat them by more than what we should have beat, right? You can't blame Clemson for the ACC down. You have to blame State for not performing, Florida State for collapsing, right? You've got to blame that before you can push the blame on the Clemson. It's not fair to blame a team that's honestly looking better than they did last year compared to what they do this year. So that's our take on that. And we're going to stop right there because that's the timer. Take number 2, Dabo Swinney will never get Clemson back to where they were 3 years ago. That is a hot take, and honestly, that's one that's going around really popular. I disagree 100%. I think the past 3 years, yes, have been a struggle. Yes, at times it's been like, why do I enjoy watching Clemson? And I have had to look at some recaps. Last year, I watched a lot of game recaps from 2015, 2016, 2018. But that's a bad take. Dabo Swinney is not I don't think the transfer portal is going to slow him down as long as he continue recruiting. I don't think he's going to never get back. I think he's making the right steps. I think he's got to get some different coaching in there. Our wide receiver coach, I don't know if the answer. I think I know that he's not the answer, in fact. So I think coaching's got to change a little bit. I don't think he's got to adapt to the transfer portal. I would like to see him do that. I'd like to see him get 2 or 3 recruits next year just to fill a couple holes. We'll see if that happens, but I don't think that's the right answer. I think he's going to get them back to where they are. Honestly, I think that they can make the playoffs this year. I predict them to make the playoffs this year because the ACC, like we just talked about, is down this year. I think our path to the championship, our path to a 1-loss season is wide open, is easily attainable. So the fact we're saying Dabo's never going to get back there is a terrible take because honestly, I think we're on the way to get back there right now as long as the coaching can maintain, playmakers can still be utilized, Cade Klubnik can be coached and played as who he is. If that's the case, Dabo's going to get back there this season, much less never get back there. Hot take, completely disagree with that take. Man, that was right on time. Next take we're going to go through. I know we're hitting these quick. Speed round hot take. Number 3, Cade in the App State game was a fluke, and we won't see that gameplay out of him again. Just a bunch of negative Nellies. Like, that's all I see. And I think that's a perfect phrase. I hate Nelly from The Office. The actress I don't care about, but I hate that character. Y'all, just a bunch of negative people. Cade came through in every single question that we've had about Cade. Can he be calm in the pocket? Can he go through and can he make the right reads? Can he stop making the poor decisions and make right decisions? Can he take care of the ball? He just answered all those. He just dropped almost 400 yards and 7 total touchdowns in 1 half. And we're already saying, oh, it's a fluke. No, he's not a good quarterback. No. I know App State is a group of 5. They're not a Power 4. They're not FCS. They're not this just complete division below us. They're not a D2 school. No, they are FBS. They are a true top team, and I think they're one of the best 2 in the group of 5. I think they could easily be put in one of the Power 4s like Big 12 or ACC, and they'd have some success. I mean, they proved that with wins recently over bigger schools when they played them and being competitive against big schools. So the fact that we're diminishing that over a false narrative of our opponent is hard. And here's the thing. Teams every year play lower schools, right? Every team almost plays an FCS school every year. And even one of the big teams and the best quarterbacks to ever go through, Trevor Lawrence, Caleb Williams, right? The best quarterback, Justin Fields, the best quarterbacks in college football, none of them have done what Cade Klubnik just did in a half. They haven't even done it at all in the past 25 years, and he did in a half. So you can't diminish that based on one simple thing. It's not a fluke. They're coaching him to be the player that he is. I know we went over there a little bit. Last hot take we're going to talk about. If Clemson leaves the ACC, they won't be competitive anymore. I don't understand some of y'all. We go through and we have success. We have success against SEC. I know We don't need to talk about Georgia. I don't think they're an SEC opponent. They're the number one team in the nation, right? They are SEC, but you don't view them as all. Right now, you know who's leading the SEC? South Carolina. That's leading the SEC right now if you look at their standings. So there's that. I don't think this is a correct take. I think it would be harder for Clemson. I do believe that. I think it would be better challenges every single week. You would have more competitive. There wouldn't be as much of highs and lows throughout the season. It would be more of a steady middle level, in my opinion, if they left to another conference. I think they still would have success. I also think, here's a hot take, I think it would increase our recruiting as well if we left, because I believe some of the recruits are going, are you playing the ACC? That's a weak conference. I don't want to play in a weak conference. And that's causing us to not get some of the recruits, not get some of the top tier recruits. I think if we left the ACC, we could take the team we have now and still have success. But I think we'd honestly have a better team than we have now, because we would get different recruits and we'd still get the recruits we're getting, and we get other recruits. So I don't think that we wouldn't be competitive more. Honestly, I think we'd make more playoffs. Last year proved the playoff committee has it out for the ACC. The undefeated champion of the ACC was left out of the playoffs. They have it out for the ACC. Even if we go to the Big 10, Big 12, SEC and lose one more game a year, that opens the door for the committee to look at you more seriously and give you a chance that they're never going to give you as an ACC team. So that is our new game of hot take speed round. Hey, let us know if you enjoyed that. Let us know if that's a segment you'd like to bring back. We would love to do that again. We would love to have your comments there. Drop a comment on YouTube, send a message on Twitter, join our insider program, and send us a text. We would love to hear some of your questions, your hot takes, and let us address those in that game moving forward. So that is going to wrap up this edition of the Locked On Clemson podcast, though. Thanks so much for making Locked On Clemson your first listen every day. Now go check out the Locked On College Football podcast. From NIL deals to conference realignment to Spencer McCoughlin, get you ready for an amazing season. You can find the link to Locked On College Football in the description, so you don't need to search it out. It is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Make sure you join our Locked On Clemson Insider program. That is an amazing time where you can literally text us anytime you want. You want to send us a message doubting a take? Do it. You want to send in questions? Join that and send us a text. We would love to have those conversations with you. That is one-on-one conversations. But it also gets you bonus videos, bonus episodes of where we're breaking down film, that kind of stuff. So make sure you join those. We would love to have you join that program. You can text Clemson to 864-252-1907 to join that. But again, let us know your comments. Let us know if you like that game we played. Send in some takes that we could talk about next time. If you haven't, make sure you subscribe to this podcast. We're on the road to 1,500. Hit that subscribe button, share the podcast. That way, every single day, this can be your first listen here on Locked On Clemson podcast. We can't wait to see you on tomorrow's episode. But until then, keep that Tiger pride alive and roaring. And as always, go Tigers.